All right, today we're going to dive into a role that so many of us play, sometimes without even knowing it. You're the social glue, the person who diffuses tension, the one who just quietly carries the emotional weight of the entire room. Yeah, we're talking about the burden of the peacemaker.
So, let me just ask you, straight up, does any of this sound familiar? Are you that person? The one who's always keeping the peace in your family, with your friends, maybe even at work? Let's find out.
Okay, so you walk into a room and you can just feel it, right? The second the energy shifts, you know someone's upset, and you instinctively know what to do, what to say to make it all okay again.
You're basically a chess master, but for emotions. Always thinking 3 moves ahead, right? You're constantly steering conversations away from choppy waters just to keep things smooth, to keep everyone happy.
And here's the kicker. While everyone else is breathing this sigh of relief, what's happening on the inside for you? You're just completely and utterly exhausted from all that work.
So, this role has a name. It's the group's peacemaker. But you know what? I think there's a better term for it, the emotional architect. Because that's what you're doing, right? You're working tirelessly behind the scenes, building this stable, peaceful, emotional structure for everyone else to live in.
But here's what's so fascinating about this. This isn't usually a personality trait, something you're just born with. Nope, more often than not, it's actually a highly sophisticated survival skill. A skill that you learned and you got really good at back in childhood.
There's actually a psychological term for this. It's called emotional labor. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It is work. It's the invisible job of managing not just your own feelings, but everyone else's too. And for so many people, this whole job started way back when they were kids. The mission was simple: keep the adults happy, so you could feel safe.
So, you might be wondering, how does this get so deeply wired into us? Well, it all comes down to a really simple but incredibly powerful learning loop. Think about it. Step 1, a kid senses danger. Maybe it's yelling, maybe it's just a really tense silence. Step 2, their instinct is to fix it, to appease the adults, manage their emotions. Step 3, the tension disappears and the child feels safe again. And that feeling of safety, that's a huge reward. So what happens? Step 4, the brain says, hey, that worked, let's do it again. And that pattern just gets reinforced over and over until it's totally automatic.
Okay, so that was childhood. But the thing is, that survival skill, it doesn't just switch off when you grow up. Oh no, it follows you right into adulthood. And that's where it starts to feel less like a skill and more like a really heavy burden.
And this creates this massive internal conflict, this huge disconnect. Because on the outside, there's the performance. What does everyone else see? Someone who's calm, helpful, totally in control. But the burden, what you're feeling on the inside, it's anxiety, always waiting for the next conflict. It's exhaustion from being on high alert all the time. And it's this growing sense of being disconnected from yourself.
And that right there, that's the ultimate cost. When your brain is constantly 24/7 scanning and managing everybody else's needs, what happens to your own? They get lost. You completely forget to check in with yourself, to ask those simple questions. Hey, what do I need right now? What am I actually feeling?
This brings us to what I think is the real heart of the whole struggle for the peacemaker. It's this deep and honestly kind of painful confusion between 2 very, very different things: being needed and being valued.
Okay, let's break this down because this is so important. Being needed, that's all about your function. It's about what you do for people. You solve their problems, you keep the peace. And yeah, it creates dependency, but it feels shaky, right? Precarious. Because what happens if you stop doing your job? Do you still matter? Now, being valued, that's totally different. That's based on who you are. It's not about what you do. It creates real, genuine connection, and it feels secure because it's got nothing to do with your performance.
And this quote it hits the nail on the head. The peacemaker's dilemma is confusing the feeling of being necessary for the feeling of being loved. You do the job, you make yourself necessary, hoping that it'll feel like love. But it almost never does it?
So that leaves us with one last, pretty big question to think about. If you were to just put down those heavy tools of the emotional architect for a minute, if you stop performing that job of peacemaker and really truly accept that your value isn't tied to your function, well, then who are you?